Imagine for a second, what if everything around us, I mean, the air, that old tree in the park, even the traffic noise, what if it's all connected, woven from the exact same stuff? And what if that fundamental stuff wasn't some, abstract science thing, but, well, something you actually feel, but maybe haven't thought about applying to, well, everything. Today, we're doing a deep dive into week 20 of the Babaji Unified 2025 series. You know the one from the Meditate for Wellness YouTube channel. It's all based on that really profound book, Unified, A Course on Truth by Roger Lanphear. So our mission here for you listening is to really unpack this idea of expanding communication to all life. It's not just theory. It's about understanding how this knowledge could genuinely shift how you see things, maybe open up new experiences. Get ready for some, hopefully, aha moments to kind of connect the dots.
Yeah, and it's worth saying, this week, it really does feel like it takes everything we've touched on before and kicks it up a notch to like a university level almost. It's asking for more personal effort, deeper engagement. It's less about just absorbing information and more about actively experiencing these truths for yourself. Daily practice becomes key.
Okay, so let's get into it. The starting point, the absolute foundation the source gives us is, well, it sounds simple, but it's kind of revolutionary. Love is the basis of everything. That can sound huge, maybe a bit abstract, right? But the way the material breaks it down is fascinating. It even connects it to science.
It does, and that's what's so intriguing. It doesn't just leave love as a poetic idea. Yeah. It suggests that this unified field that physics talks about, that theory of everything you're searching for, well, the source posits that at its heart, this is the unified field of love. Every atom, every particle, every bit of energy, it's all made of love, ultimately, which leads to a pretty profound conclusion. Therefore, everything is the same, fundamentally.
Wow. So not just a metaphor. It's saying the underlying reality, the building block, is love.
Exactly.
So that means, okay, think about a rock, a big oak tree, a squirrel, a fern, a river, clouds, your dog. Even something like a car. They all look totally different, function differently. But underneath all that, the source is saying they're made of the identical essence.
Yes, precisely. The book uses a great analogy, actually. Think about clay. You can have a clay pot, right? And maybe a little clay figure of a lion. They look completely different, serve different purposes. But we know instinctively they're both just clay, different shapes, same substance.
Okay, I get that. The core ingredient is the same.
Right. And if you take that idea further, it connects to the source's core statement, God made nothing except from love. And from that one truth, two really fundamental characteristics emerge for everything in creation. First, everything has all the qualities of God.
Qualities like wisdom, compassion, joy, peace.
Exactly. Boundless wisdom, unconditional compassion, infinite joy, perfect peace, limitless creativity, all those divine attributes. The source says every single particle inherently carries these. And second, because everything shares this origin in love, everything is consciously connected to everything else.
Consciously connected.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because it stops being just a nice philosophical idea and becomes like our universal wiring. It allows for this constant conscious link between everything.
It's still a bit hard to wrap your head around sometimes, isn't it? Everything is love. It sounds nice, but our day-to-day experience is so much about separation. Seeing distinct things. How do we square that?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Our perception is trained on differences, on categories. We see the pot, we see the lion. We don't always immediately think clay. But the source suggests that this perception of separation is, well, it's a limitation, a sort of veil. The connection, that universal wiring, it's always there, whether we're tuned into it or not.
Okay, so if that connection is always there and everything's inherently linked, what does that mean for consciousness? We usually think of it so differently.
Exactly. That leads us right to redefining consciousness. Because if everything is connected and originates from love, what does conscious really mean beyond just our human experience?
Yeah, because we tend to tie it to having a brain, right? Seeing, feeling, hearing, thinking.
Yeah.
Our senses.
That's our go-to understanding, definitely. We think about our viewpoint, seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling, touching. And if one sense is missing, we rely on the others. But the source is clear. That view is just way too limited. Consciousness is presented as something much deeper, much more expansive than just sensory input or what goes on in our heads. The book gives this profound definition. It says consciousness comes from our initial creation. Try to imagine that first spark, the original thought of creation, as pure love. Consciousness, then, is simply the awareness within that loving thought. So everything and everyone is created as love and with love. And what's the basic nature of love? It's to know itself, to be aware of itself. So love knowing itself is consciousness in its purest form. Basically, consciousness is just being aware of your own nature, being aware of love.
So consciousness isn't just a human thing or even a biological thing. It's the fundamental awareness of being love. And since everything is made of love.
Everything has it. Exactly. Even a single atom. It inherently carries this consciousness of its own loving nature. That's a huge shift.
It really is.
So being fully conscious means being fully aware of love, all its qualities, everything in creation. Even what we might call a limited consciousness, say, something aware mostly just of its own form, even that means it's aware of its fundamental love nature. And it's still connected to everything else.
Oh.
This implies that everything affects everything else, and simply by being conscious of itself, everything has the ability to communicate. We're basically living inside this vast, aware, interconnected network.
Okay, this sounds amazing. The idea that you listening right now can actually communicate with, with everything. I mean, I'll admit the first time I heard about talking to a plant, my inner skeptic kind of went,
Sure, that's natural.
But the source isn't framing this as magic, is it? It's more like sharpening a skill we already have but maybe don't trust.
Exactly. It says your abilities are already very developed. We've probably been doing it our whole lives without realizing it or maybe dismissing it. This week is about intentionally focusing that awareness, and there's a really practical exercise to help with that.
An exercise? Go tell us about it.
Right. So this practice is designed to be really experiential, something you do, not just read about. It starts with communicating with the plant. First step, find a natural setting. A park, your garden, maybe just your patio. Choose a live plant. It doesn't have to be the prettiest or healthiest, just alive.
Okay, got it. Find a plant.
Then sit quietly near it. Focus your attention on your heart center. Feel or imagine your heart love pulsing outwards, gently surrounding the plant like a warm embrace.
Like sending love from your heart to the plant.
Mm-hmm. Next, you unify with God in the usual way. Now, for those following the series, that means affirming God's qualities, claiming them as your own, aligning yourself with that source energy, and in that unified state, you extend it to the plant. Acknowledge that those same qualities, infinite love, wisdom, peace, they belong to you and the plant. You're recognizing your shared divine nature.
So connect heart to heart, unify yourself, then include the plant in that unity.
Perfect. Then you actually start a dialogue. Speak softly to the plant. Affirm that shared truth. We are both made from God's love. We are both divine. I now send you that love, and I now receive your love. And then just quietly enjoy that exchange for a bit, sending and receiving.
Okay, come on.
After a few minutes of that loving exchange, you ask the plant directly, gently, please, my dear one, tell me how I can make you more comfortable. And then you just sit back and listen, like you would in meditation or any quiet period. Open yourself up to receive.
Listening to a plant, how does that work? What are we listening for?
Good question. Now, this is important. Safeguards. Before you listen, the source stresses ensuring your aura, your energy field, is close to everything except your higher self, your truest inner guidance. And you need that established signal from your higher self in place. You know, that clear yes or no feeling or whatever your signal is. This keeps the communication clear.
Right. Protect your energy. Tune into your higher self.
Exactly. Then you listen. The communication will likely come as thoughts, subtle feelings, maybe images via your higher self. Pay special attention to anything related to its comfort. It helps to speak out loud whatever you receive, just gently. And then periodically, check in with your higher self. Is this accurate? Ask for that yes-no signal to verify. This builds trust in the process.
Speak it out. Verify with the higher self signal. Got it.
Then afterwards, act on what you received, if possible. If it seemed to need water, water it. More sun, move it gently. Maybe it needs food. You make it more comfortable based on its communication. And finally, recite an appropriate creating formula for it. That's like a powerful present tense affirmation, something like, my plant is healthy and comfortable. Remember, the whole process, the connection, the intention, the affirmation, that's your creation unfolding, although the plant definitely benefits.
That sounds really beautiful, actually, a daily practice.
Yes, the recommendation is to do this each day this week. Doing it strengthens that understanding deep in your core that everything is love, that love is aware, and that this opens up communication with everything.
Not just plants, then.
Not just plants. This exercise is just the starting point. The source makes it clear. Everything is subject to your listening and communication on this thought level. Your pets, cats, dogs, wild birds, deer, ants, moths, even things we think of as inanimate objects. Because everything is love, everything is consciousness. The encouragement is really to open yourself up now, expand your friendships into this whole wonderful, aware world of creation.
That's really expansive. But what if someone tries it and they just feel nothing, or they can't tell if it's the plant or just their own thoughts? That must happen, right? Doubt can creep in.
Oh, absolutely. That's very normal, especially at first. The source really emphasizes patience and persistence. Just keep practicing. Our minds are busy places, you know. We're not used to this kind of quiet, subtle listening. The key is just to try without judging the results. Don't put pressure on it. Even if you think you feel nothing, the act of sending love, of setting the intention, that's still doing something. It's creating that unified field. And that higher self signal is crucial for verification. Over time, with practice, that inner knowing gets stronger, clearer. It's like learning any new skill or a language. You start small, maybe uncertain, but it grows. Someone in the discussion forums mentioned their plant's message was just wanting a moment of quiet attention, not water or sun. And getting that simple yes signal from their higher self was their breakthrough.
That makes sense. It's not always about complex messages. Sometimes it's just presence.
Exactly.
So, okay, beyond this core practice, when we started discussing this chapter more broadly, some other really fascinating insights came up, didn't they? Things that take it even further.
They really did. The ripple effects are quite profound. One thing that really stood out was the power of listening. Just listening. We spend so much time talking, right? Repeating what we think we know. But real listening, especially to something non-human, that's where the growth happens. That's where new knowledge comes in. Well, communication from a plant, for instance, tends to be very neutral, non-judgmental. It's not wrapped up in human ego or emotion. Learning to perceive that teaches us a different kind of language.
Yeah.
It can actually help dissolve our own barriers and judgments because the exchange itself is so pure.
It's interesting. Listening without the usual human filters.
Mm-hmm. And another big insight related to time, how we view time. Giving your time, your patient, unconditional hearing, whether to a plant, an animal, another person, is presented as one of the highest forms of service.
Unconditional hearing.
Yeah. Think about how often we say, I don't have time. It often comes from a place of scarcity, right? Like time is this limited thing we're always running out of. The shift suggested is towards, I have an abundance of time. Because for the soul, time isn't linear or limited like that. It's a flow. This practice helps us tap into that abundance.
Shifting from time scarcity to time abundance through focused presence. I like that.
Then there's the idea of resonance, attunement. Communication happens when frequencies align, like tuning a radio. Our awareness acts like the dial. We can learn to consciously tune in to the frequency of anything, a plant, a person, even an object.
Tune in.
Yeah. And when the frequencies match, there's this resonance, a moment where the communicators essentially become one in that shared awareness. This whole course, in a way, is teaching us how to deliberately adjust our frequency dial.
Wow. So not just living things, you mentioned objects.
Yes, people shared experiences of feeling a kind of communication or maybe just a sense of presence or awareness from things like car windows, refrigerators, even rocks. It sounds unusual maybe, but it just deepens that feeling of universal connection and gratitude. Realizing everything has this inherent consciousness, your awareness really can act like a dial.
Tuning into the consciousness of your fridge.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a new one.
It stretches the mind, doesn't it? And one last point that came up was about the joy of new creation and acceptance. Seeing new life, a tiny seedling, new leaves unfurling it, connects us back to our own origin, that pure joy of creation. And the practice also fosters acceptance, even for things we might judge as imperfect. A brown leaf, a thorny cactus, they're all unique expressions of love perfectly themselves. It helps us see beauty everywhere, accept things as they are.
That's a lovely way to put it. Acceptance of all expressions.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've really journeyed into this core truth. Love is the essence of everything, and consciousness is love knowing itself. And crucially, this isn't just philosophy, it's a practical doorway, a path to genuinely expanding how you communicate, who you communicate with, opening up to all life.
So the challenge for you listening is this. Now that you know everything is consciously connected through love, and you have these tools, this way to listen, what new connections might you make this week? What surprising wisdom, what unexpected friendships could be waiting if you truly open yourself to communicating with everything around you, recognizing that inherent love, that consciousness in every being, every object. It's an ongoing journey, right? Limitless, really. So keep practicing, stay curious, and let the world show you its interconnected heart.